A former manager at a Colorado Papa John's was fired for closing his restaurant early. So now Chris Jackson used to work at a Colorado Papa John's and talked to Insider and said that he'd been with the company for more than 13 years and had been working some rather long stretches of back-to-back open-to-close shifts for the pizza chain. Why? Because they've been having some difficulty staffing during the pandemic. Now, of course, that makes sense because it's not easy to keep people in a job that pays $8.75 an hour for food prep. If you're a general employee there, you're not making a lot of money. You're certainly making or not making bank. Now, he decided to close early because he had a scheduling conflict. He had some medical obligations and couldn't find anyone to cover for him. In fact, this was posted to the Reddit our anti-work community, which, by the way, check that out because it's awesome. And Jackson explained that on Monday, the Tuesday evening shift leader told him that they had a medical appointment and couldn't cover the shift. He too said that he had a family medical obligation at that time and asked his area manager to find some coverage. Okay. Now, on Tuesday afternoon, however, Jackson was told that no one would be able to cover the shift. So he decided that, well, if I can't get anyone to cover it, I'm not going to miss my medical appointment. I'm just going to close early. I'm going to close about 3 hours early. Okay, so 5 p.m. Well, the next day, he found out that because of his closure, he was fired. Gone. How dare you miss 3 hours of potential profit? What, medical obligation? Who cares about your medical obligation? No. How dare you have any plans outside of work? You're fired. You're fired. Get out. Now, here's the thing, right? Not finding someone to be able to cover your shift, that sucks. I get it. It sucks. I'm sure more than a few of you understand the pain of trying to find your own coverage in jobs like that. I hear you. But here's the thing, right? People have to have time for medical appointments. Health's kind of important. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And by the way, there are some, and I'm sure a lot of you know this, there are some places where you make an appointment and you don't show up or you cancel, they still charge you for the appointment. So you still end up having to pay, plus you don't even get to do what you went there for. And so you're out money, and probably, at least going back to the experiences that I've had with making appointments, you often get put on a pretty long waiting list, depending on what it is. And so, yes, you could be waiting 2 to 3 weeks to reschedule your appointment, sometimes longer. So it's really important to be able to make those appointments when you can. And so that's that's something that employees, or I should say employers, need to take into account. But they don't. Now, for me, of course, here's the thing. I think for me, my health is obviously more important than making money for a faceless corporation. But I also understand, I get that it's easy for me to say, sitting right here in this chair. I get it. I mean, I'm not in that, I don't have to be in that situation before. So again, it's easy for me to talk. I talk for a living, but I used to be in that position. I used to work in the factories. I used to be working at the grocery stores, stocking shelves and, taking inventory and off of trucks and sorting them. I used to do all that stuff. I've dealt with working for terrible people firsthand. I get it. So I have been there. And so still, health is way more important, and it should be more important. Unfortunately, we don't value employees. We value potential profits, corporations. But it continues. He says, he told Insider, quote, "It's weird because I hadn't had any issues at all at work. That's why I was confused. This is the only incident that ever happened. Jackson provided screenshots of text messages and emails that were consistent with his story, including a company form saying that he was fired. Now, the post was removed from Reddit for sharing too much information. But here's what one form read. Quote, Chris closed the restaurant without approval. Closing a restaurant without approval is cause for immediate termination of employment. Now, Colorado, by the way, is an at-will state. It just means that employees can be fired at will. Just whatever, for any reason or no reason at any time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, of course, he shuts down just 3 hours early. 3 hours of missed potential profit. That's enough for him to be completely canned. Now, a spokesperson for Papa John's told Insider that the location is owned by an independent franchise partner. Now, understand that franchises are pretty much how corporations can get away with treating their workers poorly. Oh no, we're just going to do franchisees, and whatever they do, it just can't go back to the company. Now, that franchise partner has sole authority over its own workforce decisions. That franchise owner did not respond to Insider's request for comment. Maybe it's because, he might have to now cover all the shifts because he had fired them. Now, here's some more information, just in case you still think that this person might have been a bad worker. Now, again, first time it happened, and it was for a medical obligation. But also, let me just note that as a full-time salaried manager, Jackson had said that he was responsible for covering more than full-time hours for no additional pay. He said if I worked 50 or 60 hours, it didn't matter in the pay at all. And that he had been regularly having to do so as a result of not being able to find people to staff. Now, there's another reason. Why can't they find people to staff? If there's a labor shortage, certainly so with all these open jobs, somebody would want to come in and start working for Papa John's. Well, it turns out, no. But first, before I do that, the company did eventually agree to a weekly cap of 55 hours on his schedule. Wow, that's still 15 hours with no additional pay. Now, general managers in Colorado and Papa John's do make an average of about $20 an hour. Now, that's, again, for 40 hours. The additional hours that he was putting in, covering all these other shifts because they were short-staffed, he didn't get paid for. So it's just literal theft. They were stealing from this guy the whole time. But again, why couldn't they find any replacements? Why find replacements when someone will work for them for free? All those additional hours. Again, it comes back to greed, everybody. It always goes back to greed. Now, Jackson also said that he was not authorized to offer a wage or salary high enough to attract and retain workers and managers for the restaurant. He said, quote, they'll just be like, this is the top line where we can pay. And it's expensive. It's like really expensive here. It's true. Look, nobody can afford to live off of Papa John's wage. They're lucky if they make $20,000 a year. And guess what? That's a poverty wage. Of course, nobody wants to work for that. They were lucky that this manager was doing all those shifts for free. But now that he's gone, now that they fired him, they're really going to be SOL now. Maybe the franchise owner might have to be working those additional shifts. I'd love to see that happen. I'd like to see him really figure out what it's like to work 55 to 60-hour weeks and not get paid for the additional hours over 40. Oh, wouldn't that be so nice? I'd like them to see for firsthand why staff decide they don't want to stick around. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.